Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we're having another look at the work in progress MotoGP 2021 mod. So if you haven't seen the previous video I did on this, it was about a month ago. It's actually done pretty well for one of my videos, which is quite nice to see. But if you haven't seen that, I'll link it in the description below. You should probably go watch that one first, because I'm not going to be recovering anything I covered in that video, but this is just to sort of show off what I've done since that one. Obviously it's been a month, so there's been a lot of progress made, I can tell you that. So probably the first thing you'll notice is the new title screen. So Joao Mir has effectively got the championship wrapped up now. I think he's going to win it this weekend. So the title screen now has him front and centre, rather than it's Marc Marquez in the base game. And I don't know if in the last episode I had the Fabio Quartararo start screen on or not, but I had made one for him ages ago. But now, of course, he's not going to win the championship, realistically, so there we go, we've got Joao Mir instead. So if we go into the game now then, you can obviously see the logos will be changed everywhere. You can see the top left as well. I think the video in the background, I don't think I'm going to actually put that in the mod itself, because it makes the file size a lot bigger than it needs to be, so I need to try and make it as small as possible. So that's kind of spoiling something, because of the rider as currently has. See Marquez, Polispargaro, Jack Miller, Bagnaia, Vinales, Quartararo, see Alex Rins, Mir, Binder, Oliveira. This is all like this in the previous one. There's a little bit of an asterisk next to this one, of course, the Aprilia. I've got Cal Crutchlow on it at the minute. I know I did show this one off in the last episode as well. I've heard rumours that Bezzecchi is the main man for that seat now, but it's not been confirmed, so I'll leave it as Crutchlow for now. It's an easy swap if needed anyway. But for now, it's Cal Crutchlow on that seat. But a couple of things that I have changed since the previous update. Nothing else has really changed in the MotoGP class massively. So Enea Bastianini, I've now given him the number 3 rather than the number 33, because I actually hadn't realised myself, but it got pointed out to me that Brad Binder's already number 33, so he can't be 33 as well. So we've made him become number 3 now, as you can see. The number 3 here is a little bit cut off, but I have fixed that. I just haven't put the new texture in the game yet. I'd already seen that bug, so I had actually in fact fixed that, but it definitely will be fixed for the actual release, because I just need to re-import that texture. And here's probably the biggest thing that happened. We already kind of thought Luca Marini could be in the running for this seat, but at the time in the last video I still had Tito Rabat in that position, I believe. But it's now been confirmed that Luca Marini is going to be in the Sponsorama racing team, but with Sky VR46 colours. So that's quite interesting. So I've kind of done a little bit similar to how Milestone do it with the two LCR teams. You can see here we've got LCR Honda Castrol and LCR Honda Idemitsu, so two different teams in effect. They've got the same colour and things like that, and that's what I've done here. So if we go and have a look at Luca Marini, obviously you can see it's got Tito Rabat's face, but I haven't got a Luca Marini face to put over it or anything. The number 10, I could do with moving that a little bit. It doesn't quite look right, does it? I need to probably change the size of the With You logo. It was bigger before, the number 10 was tiny, so I already changed it once, but I probably need to change it again. But here you can see the Sky VR46 Ducati. I've basically recreated the Moto2 and Moto3 liveries are the same, but the Moto2 livery, I remade that on the Ducati model basically, and that's what it looks like. I think it looks quite nice actually. It looks quite good on the bike. It was actually quite a nice conversion, because the Kalex UV mapping and the Ducati UV mapping are both pretty nice. And then we'll show you the carbon livery for that as well. So as you can see, kind of similar again to how Milestone do it. They just take the main sponsor, just stick it on a carbon texture, and that's what I've done here. So it's got the Sky logos on it. But that's not it for the MotoGP class. As you saw earlier, the Sponsorama Racing VR46 is actually classed as its own team in the game, because that's just how you have to work around it if you want the custom rider to have it. And I thought people are going to want to race on this bike, aren't they? It's going to be one of the biggest things. It's a Valentino Rossi team in MotoGP, even if it's a 50-50 split with their Sponsorama and it's just sort of the new colours. People are going to want to play as this, and they're not going to be happy if you can't. So I've had to go through and modify some things, but we've managed to get a custom team working. So if we can have a look at this then. Same livery. The number projection, I had to change that from the base Avintia one to the Ducati one, so it didn't overlap the factory Ducati one, so it didn't overlap the with you. But as you can see, it's the exact same bike, and the suit is modified from the Moto2 one. It's just got Michelin logos where the Dunlop logos were, and I've erased all the Calyx logos. So there you go, that's your Sky VR46 Sponsorama Racing. So onto Moto2. This class is fairly complete. There's a couple of rider lineups that aren't announced, but actually in this class it works pretty well because the riders from those teams haven't moved either. So we've got a complete class that looks normal. So we've got Celestino Vietti, obviously has been announced now to be a Moto2 rider next year. So if we go and have a look at that, you would think I actually just reused his Moto3 textures, which is what I was gonna do initially. But then I realised that they have a different elbow slider in Moto2, the newer Dionisi elbow slider. I was like, right, okay, so I've now modified Marini's suit to have blue instead of orange, and it looks pretty good with Vietti. His helmet still is a normal one. There you can see the Sky VR46 Racing Moto2. Apparently I was hovered over Bobier then for some reason. So Bezecchi, of course, is stock, Navarro is stock, but then we got Jari Mantella. So he won the European Moto2 Championship on a speed up, so he's therefore been promoted up to World Moto2. And I did have him as number 55 to begin with, but then Siren actually found a ride, so that meant 55 was unavailable, so I've given him number 5 for now. Dionisi leathers, as you'd expect. His helmet brand, not one that's actually present in the game, so it's an X-Lite model, but it's got the right logo on it, so there's not much you can do if it's literally not present in the game. Tony Arbolino, of course, then on the Intact GP bike for next season. So you can see his number 14 on the bike. Replacing Tom Luthi, of course. He's gone over to the Stop and Go Racing. We'll have a look at that in a second as well. Then we got Stefano Manzi. Him and Baldassarre have actually swapped places. So if we have a look at this then on the Pons bike. There's 62 on the front. I always love it when it's an Alpine Stars or a Dionisi rider that has moved, because there's already suits made for them, so you can just stick the gloves and their name on it, and it works quite nicely. So it always makes it a fairly easy mod to make when that's the case. There you go, that's I actually just realised I need to remove the MV Augusta logo off his helmet. There's probably a couple of things that are like that, so if you actually notice anything that I've missed in terms of the wrong manufacturer logo on like a helmet or something like that, let me know, because I'll try and remove it. Then we got Remy Gardner, he's moving to the Red Bull KTM IO team. So if we have a look at this then, his suit is actually Brad Binder's repurposed, so the MotoGP Brad Binder has just been modified to be a Moto2 suit instead. Obviously got the number 87 on the front, as you'd expect, since he is the number 87. And alongside him, Raul Fernandez. I'm not sure if I've seen an official press release for this or anything, but it's been said on live broadcasts and stuff before that Raul Fernandez is going up to the Moto2 team, so I've done it. Also, he had someone else replace him in Moto3, so it was pretty obvious that that was then true. So if we have a look at his bike, I actually have just reused his leathers, I believe, from Moto3, because, I mean, it fits perfectly still. Dunlop tyres, everything like that, so all the sponsors are exactly the same. And then the number fits really nicely, of course, because it's already in the correct IO style. Yeah, and I think this one looks really good, obviously, because it is just such an easy swap. But same with the sort of Vietti, it really looks nice and crisp when it's all like 100% matched up with the colours and things like that. So Vieja and Dixon, of course, they're staying on. I did mention Tom Luthi moving to the Stop and Go team earlier. Let's have a look at him. He's replacing Remy Gardner. Not sure who's going to be alongside him. I've seen some places that said it's Kazma Daniel, other places that have said it's unannounced. So for now in the mod it is Kazma Daniel, but obviously if he loses his job I will replace him. Like I said, it's a work in progress. It's not a finished mod yet. You'll see that more when we get to Moto3. There's a couple of things that are unfinished, but not really my fault, to be honest. So the next change then is Fabio Di Gianantonio. He's moved back to the Grassini team. Of course, he was in Grassini in Moto3. I think it was for 2 years he was with Grassini, and then he moved to the speed-up team, of course, in Moto2. But now he's back at Grassini, so he's on a Calyx. The number 21 on the front of the Calyx, of course. Again, an R5 Stars suit, always nice. An easy, quick change when that's the case. And there you go. His helmet actually looks quite a bit like Marc Marquez's. I've only just really noticed that. Obviously, it's not got the big Red Bull on the front, how Marc's does, but it actually kind of has a similar style to it, especially since it's the same brand as well. Obviously, we've got Joe Roberts as well now, moving to the Italtrans team from the American racing team. So if we have a look at him, this one I think looks really nice as well, because I mean he just went from blue to blue, so his suit actually works really, really well with this. So that's why this one probably looks one of the best with the bump map and the light map, because they actually fit from his previous team, so I think I used those ones instead. But yeah, it actually looks pretty good. Be interesting to see how Joe Roberts gets on this Italtrans bike, but he definitely looks good in that colour, because I mean he was already in that colour, so his helmet and everything all matches up. It looks pretty good. Speaking of American racing, of course, we've got Marcos Ramirez, who is stock, but Cameron Beaubier, absolutely dominant in the Moto America and obviously AMA before that as well. It's nice to see him coming into some international championships then. I think he's done a couple of races in World Superbikes before, but he's never had a proper crack at it. I think he did actually a season in 125s back in 2009, but that's why he's got 14 races on the screen here. But he's not really been in international racing too much since then, but he's been amazing in America, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. And again, similar to Montella, his helmet model wasn't actually the game. They don't have 6D helmets in this game, so it's actually a Bell model with the 6D logo put on top. And I've tried to recreate his number as well as I can. Obviously not the number 1 that he's been running for a while, but he usually runs a number 6 when he's not the world champion. He usually runs a number 6 when he's not the champion, should I say. But that's pretty rare, to be honest, for Cameron Beaubier. He's a very fast rider. He wins the championship most years whenever he's in something. But there you go. Again, obviously it looks pretty good on the American racing, because it's all sort of designed to go together. Obviously the suit, I mean, it's just a black helmet. I've not made a helmet for him or anything. It's quite difficult to actually do helmets, especially for me. I'm not exactly great on the textures, as I'm sure you've seen from previous years. We mentioned this swap earlier, of course, with Stefano Manzi, Lorenzo Baldassari on the MV Agusta. So as you can see then, obviously he's returning to Ford Racing. He raced here for a few years, and he actually got a couple of wins with that team, I believe, as well. So it'd be nice for him to return back here, but of course this time it's on an MV Agusta rather than a Calyx. And I think the colours again seem to match quite well here. There's a few riders that really match their new team's colours. Moving on to the Aspar team then, we've got Albert Arenas, of course. Looks like he's going to win the Moto3 World Championship. It's still up for grabs, 2 rounds to go. He's not leading by that much anymore after his interesting antics in the previous race. Of course, I know the points drop was not really actually his fault. He got rammed, but afterwards was a little bit interesting. But that's not really got anything to do with this video. But again, this one obviously looks great because he's already with Aspar, so his leathers are exactly the same as the Moto3 ones. I think I might have modified the 3 to be a 2, I think, because he had Moto3 logo on his leathers. But yeah, his colours all sort of match up again because he's already with this livery. And yeah, it looks quite nice. So obviously he's replacing Hafi Sirin at this team. So that is the Aspar team then with Albert Arenas. And then onto NTS, a whole new lineup. So Barry Boltus actually being moved up into Moto2, which came as a bit of a shock to me and I'm sure many other people. Not dissing his ability or anything, I just mean because of how young he is that he got moved up into Moto2. But hopefully he gets on pretty well. But let's have a look at his livery then. So we've got the 7B, which is like the 70, so the 7 Boltus on the front. He's actually using Machna leathers. He doesn't in real life at this point, but both the riders in this team use Machna leathers, and Machna leathers sponsor the bike, so I think there's a deal where they both have to use them. So you'll see the same thing with Hafish in a minute, that he'll have these Machna leathers. It's not me just being lazy and just slapping the name on. That's because I think that's how it's going to be, so it makes more sense to try and make it as accurate as possible. Moving on to Hafish, obviously we mentioned that briefly. The 55 on the front of the NTS. I didn't actually think, to be honest, he was probably going to get a ride after I found out that Arenas had replaced him at Aspar, but he's ended up on the NTS, which hasn't been a favourable bike in the past, but it could be quite a good bike next year. But obviously, like I said before, the Machna leathers, I think that must be a branding thing. I think last year they had to have Revit, so it could be different anyway for next season. But if Machna leathers continue to sponsor them. I'm assuming both their riders will use it. And then the Honda Team Asia team, neither of the riders have been confirmed, so I've just left the defaults. So that's actually the Moto2 class, so that's what I meant about it looking pretty complete, because it is, in effect. It would work now. There's no problems, no visual bugs or anything like that, because the only two riders that are not confirmed, I think, are these two riders here, the Idemitsu and I think Kazuma Daniel. So I think it's just those three. So for now, you can just leave them as they are. But I think actually that's where I'm going to leave it for this video. I'm not going to bother showing Moto 3 off yet, because like I said, it is a bit unfinished in a couple of places just because the riders haven't been fully announced, and this video has been going on for quite a while. So that's a brief look really at the Moto 2 class for the MotoGP 2021 mod, and of course showing off the Sky Racing team in MotoGP as well. But like I said, I hope you guys did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.